Picture this. You're sitting at your desk, you've got Google Doc or MS Word open, and you want to work on the next section of your book, but nothing's coming. And so you might just type, I am trying to write. I am trying to get the juices flowing. It's still not working. Well, sometimes sitting at your desk and forcing yourself to write is exactly the wrong thing to do. Perhaps the right answer is to get out into the world and have an experience. In this episode of Coffee with Karma, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 field trip ideas that will get the creative sparks going. You remember field trips. I mean, as a child, I used to go on them. I loved them. They were great. You didn't have to sit at the desk and you got to go out and do stuff. Well, that principle still works even as an adult. Hi, my name is Carma Spence, and I help executive coaches, business leaders, and consultants write the book they were meant to write so that they can grow their business and attract ideal clients and have fun while they're doing it. Field trip. All right. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the bell so that it tells the algorithm this video is worth watching and shares it with more people. Let's get on with the first field trip. This is one of my favorites. Museum meandering. I love museums. There is a wide variety of museums. There are art museums, there are history museums, there are archaeological museums. It doesn't matter. What kind of museum do you like? I love like aquariums and planetariums and natural history museums myself. I also one time went to a railroad museum that was a whole lot of fun. And when you go to these things, yeah, they're little glass boxes with stuff, but what you're getting to see is something that's a little out of the ordinary. It's a piece of history, it's a piece of time. It's something new and interesting and educational. When I lived in Long Beach, California, there is the Aquarium of the Pacific, and they once had an exhibit about a whale fall that inspired a book I've been working on ever since. I haven't quite finished it yet because it's tapping into something very deep, but it gave me the metaphor for dealing with grief. And I wouldn't have even known about it if I hadn't gone to a museum. So that's field trip number 1, museum meandering. Number 2 is a farmer's market walk or wander. Farmers markets, large and small, are a treasure trove of interesting people and interesting objects. If you go to the big one in LA, I mean, there's so much to see. You can't even do the whole thing in a day. Or there's the one that is in my current neighborhood, which is usually about maybe a half a dozen to a dozen different tables with people selling their odd-shaped fruits, vegetables, occasionally knitted things. It's like a hodgepodge of things. And I've had such interesting conversations at these places. You meet interesting people, both the vendors and the people who are there to see what's there as well. So that's something very simple, and it doesn't cost anything. A museum could cost something, but a farmer's market usually doesn't unless there's parking fees. Depends on where you live. Number 3, and I've already kind of mentioned this, is an aquarium or zoo visit. I love zoos. There's all these interesting animals, and sometimes you'll be watching a critter in its cage or in its habitat, and it'll suddenly spark, that's just like whatever it is, or it'll remind you of something. Plus, it's outside, so you're breathing the somewhat fresh air, sometimes a little bit of animal smell. You never know. I've been to all sorts of zoos. There was a zoo, I think it was in Louisville, Kentucky, and you didn't want to go near the giraffe cage because on that particular day, it was ripe. I think it needed to be cleaned. And it wasn't a cage, it was a habitat. I grew up in an era where I used to go to the San Francisco Zoo, and they had animals in literal cages. Nowadays, it's not like that, but when I was growing up, that's what it was. Anyway, Aquariums and zoos expose you to new life, new interesting things. So one time I went to the aquarium in Chicago and they had a whole frogs exhibit at the time. You learned about these different ways of living that can spark, I don't know, stories, analogies, metaphors for things that you're talking about in your book. If you are enjoying this episode and you would like more behind the scenes versions or even just audio versions, then I invite you to join the Backstage Blend at Buy Me a Coffee. Just this QR code will take you there, or you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Carma Spence. And for $5 a month, you can get all this kind of cool behind the scenes stuff. I share galleries and audio notes and audio versions of this podcast. So I invite you to do that. It's only $5 a month. All right, let's continue our field tripping, meandering. Number 4, historic site exploration. These are really cool. If you happen to live in a place that has a lot of historical homes and that are up for museums, you can learn about the history of your place and how people lived at different eras of time. Here in my current hometown, there is a town that's been here almost pretty much since before the city was founded. And we went there for my birthday last year or the year before. Time flies when you're having fun. And it was just really interesting to explore and see like how the floors were worn down from all those years of living and how their kitchen was and how they had like the little secret compartments where the servants would go up and down to help serve the family that used to live there. And it gives you a sense not only of history, but of how kinda good you've got it. Like, running water is not an issue anymore. It was when this house was built. So, that kind of, like, opens and expands, and you can take interesting photos, and those interesting photos can spark something. So, historic homes and sites are always very interesting, especially if they've got people who if you've got a site where they do reenactments, where, like, the place you're visiting has people, like, pretending they're from that era. I went to one in Yosemite once that was like that. It was I had a really interesting experience. This was back in the late '80s, so I had, like, a hot pink overall kind of thing that was, like, knicker length, so it came to just my knees, and we were at the blacksmith's. I was there with my mom, and the blacksmith started saying, "Do you allow your daughter to go around in her underwear?" 'Cause the knicker lengths and everything, that would have been underwear in the 1800s, and it was just an interesting experience, and my mom's like, "Oh, no, it's totally fine," 'cause she didn't quite get what he was saying. It was fun. It was a really interesting experience, and these are things that you can live. You're living life. You're exploring the world around you, and you never know what ideas that will spark. And number 5, now this one's kind of fun, a themed store stroll. Now, if you happen to live near Vegas, they are like rife with themed stores. There's an M&M store, there's a Twizzler store, there's a Reese's Pieces store. But even if you don't live near Vegas, there are themed stores probably near you. And you don't have to think of theme as being something crazy. It could be a toy store. It could be a religious store. It could be a stamp collecting store. It may be themed or it may just be extremely niche. And going there and exploring, you never know what you'll find. And along these lines, another place to go explore is antique shops. Sometimes you can find in antique stores baskets full of old photographs, which are fascinating because you see how people used to live, but also kind of sad because I look at these photos and think, this was somebody's sister, their mother, their brother, their uncle. This was somebody who lived in a life and had people who loved them, and now their photos just sitting here in a box on sale for 10 cents a piece. Again, you never know what you'll find in an antique store. So there you go, 5 field trip ideas that you can use to get out of the house, get your creative juices flowing again. If you have any ideas for other field trips that people could take, please put them in the comments and let's share how we can get out in the world, have interesting experiences, and not have to go so far. I will see you on Wednesday when I will be talking about 5 secrets to finding story gold in your ordinary life. This is Carma Spence saying ciao for now.